Welcome to episode 9 of the Trackside podcast. So much motorsport to get through today. Really, really exciting. We had 2 of the 3 Triple Crown races. Obviously, Monaco, which we'll go into a lot of detail on. Ollie as well will go into the F2 sprint and feature races. But the Indy 500 as well. We're going to do a big piece on that at the end because, boys, I mean, how good was that? Just a little teaser. How good was the Indy 500?
Most entertaining part of the weekend, in my personal opinion.
It was phenomenal. It was so good to watch. And I mean, my brother sent me a message which really put it in perspective how close these cars actually drive. The top 21 drivers with just 2 laps to go out of 200 were split by just 10 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I've never seen in one race as well, by the way. I mean, I know there's 33 drivers compared to 20 in F1, but I've never seen so many crashes in my life. It's unbelievable. Genuinely, so exciting, though. And like I said, we'll get into it a little bit closer to the end. Hopefully, there'll be a way for you to know where to skip to. But we're going to start, Ollie, with Formula 2. Now, a little bit of a shock here, but you didn't actually get to watch a lot of it this weekend, unfortunately, due to your day job.
Throw him under the bus. Throw him under the bus. It's fine.
You didn't get to watch a lot, and actually I probably watched more than you, which, can you believe that's even a sentence? But break it down for us. Talk to us about the sprint race first, and then there's a little bit about the feature race that I was going to bring up. But yeah, go with the sprint race first.
I mean, overall, let's be real, it's Monaco. And I don't really think I have to say much more than that to tell you that there was a lack of overtaking. Even Formula 2 standards, which, I mean, as I say, every single time there's a race, Formula 2's chaos, there's a ridiculous amount of overtakes. But even for Formula 2, Monaco proved really hard to pass anyone at all. But we did get a British winner in the sprint race. Obviously, last weekend, I mentioned that AIX Racing got their first ever podium with Josh Burton.
Yeah.
This weekend, not only did they get their second podium, but also a race win, but this time for the young Brit Taylor Barnard. So it's great to have another young British lad winning some races in the feeder series.
Well, actually, Ollie, this is what I was going to ask you. Getting reverse pole in Monaco, like that is... So is it 10th or 8th reverse pole? 10th. That must be such a weird feeling, qualifying 10th, but knowing that effectively you've got a race win. Kind of, I mean, look, I'm not saying it's easy, but...
Yeah, that is where I don't understand the reverse pole and stuff like that, especially for races like Monaco, because it is a bit overpowered. Let's go slowly so I end up 10th, but I'm knowing will be pole.
Well, no, realistically, I've always thought about this with the reverse grid. It's kind of like, would you rather qualify 5th because then you're in the same place for both races and you have a good chance, or would you rather qualify 1st and then be dropped to 10th for the sprint and then start 1st in the feature? Because if you qualify 5th, surely it's easier for you to navigate through the field. But
you do get, is it 2 points for pole or 1?
2, I believe.
2, 2 points. So, I mean, there is that initiative, obviously, and naturally as well, you're on pole for the feature race, more points. But for Monaco, like Will says, it is a little bit overpowered in the sense of, finish 10th and you're on pole. And as long as you get to turn 1, okay, race is pretty much yours, as long as you don't put it in the wall.
Should they implement the pole for point system into Formula 1, do you think?
Yeah, I've said this for so long. I've said this for so long. The fact there's no points on a Saturday, but you can get a point for a fastest lap on a Sunday makes no sense to me.
Yeah,
you literally go faster on the Saturday and you're getting rewarded for the fastest lap, but it's not even the fastest lap. No race time is ever quicker than a quali time. So
yeah, do you think they should do for top 3 in Formula 1 on the qualifying should be 3, 2, 1 point?
Yeah, I think so. I think that'd be a really good idea.
Yeah, but I do too. Taylor Barnard first win.
Yeah, Taylor, another British winner on the grid this year, and he drove brilliantly. So yeah, congratulations to him. That was one of the races of many this weekend that I didn't get to watch, so I don't really know too much about it. But yeah, congratulations to Taylor Barnard. Brilliant to see another winner on the top step of the podium from Britain. And it was replicated again on the Sunday, now in the feature race.
Yeah, this
one is pretty much the only race that I got to watch from any of the Formula series. And I mean, let's just say it was still a bit dull, but interesting in the way that the winner won. Zach O'Sullivan he started 15th on the grid, and he decided to go on the harder compounded tyre, which was the soft compound. Obviously, in Formula 2, they have the super soft as well. So he started on the soft compounded tyre. I think there was 42 laps in the race, I want to say.
Yeah, there was.
And he ran on the soft for 40 laps.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And then a virtual safety car came out with the 2 laps to go. And he took his opportunity, jumped into the pits, put on the super softs, because obviously in the sprint race for Formula 2, for those who don't know, you don't have to make a mandatory pit stop. You can last the whole race just on one set of tyres. In the feature race, you do have to make a mandatory pit stop. He made his mandatory pit stop with just 2 laps to go, came out ahead of Isaac Hadjar, just 0.3 seconds ahead. So it was so fine. It was so good that ART managed to get such a good pit stop in. And the final lap of the race, he managed to break the gap to Isaac Hadjar and became the second British winner of the weekend. So for the young Brit, it's looking fantastic. So well done to Sullivan, starting 15th as well and going on the alternate strategy. Phenomenal performance.
Hadjar was fuming on the radio. He couldn't believe that had happened and that his race win had gone. But also as well, I'll tell you who I felt sorry for, Richard Verschoor, because I think he came over the radio and said, like, why does this always happen to me? Why am I so unlucky? And things like that. But what made it worse, I think, is obviously when he was leading the race, he had problems, but it wasn't a case of he had a problem, he had to pull straight up. He kind of got back underway.
Yeah.
And then I thought to him, has he got away with one here? And then he's slowly getting overtaken. And then obviously in the end, he has to DNF. I felt really bad for him because, look, Monaco, doesn't matter if it's in any category, to win Monaco, that's a big deal. And for Formula 2 drivers, especially, I mean, all Formula 2 races are on the Formula 1 calendar, but I just think, imagine winning Monaco, right in front of the F1 paddock. That would have been special. So I felt sorry for him. And Hadjar, he was fuming. But Ollie, tell us about Paul Aaron, because isn't that like 4 or 5 podiums in a row now he's got?
Well, I'm not sure how many podiums he's got in a row, but he's now leading the standings.
Yeah.
So the first change since the start of the season, obviously Zane Maloney had been driving absolutely fantastically. In the sprint race, he got spun. He lost drive and was out the race, so heartbreaking for him. He's been driving so well so far this year, but the cracks are now slowly starting to show. Other drivers are starting to pull through, and Paul Aaron is now leading the championship on 80 points. Isaac Hadjar close behind on 78, and then Maloney in third on 69. So Hadjar and Aaron doing really well this season. But for a debut season in Formula 2, Paul Aaron is driving absolutely phenomenally. He's won one race, I believe, and he's constantly in the points.
What academy is he under?
Pardon?
What academy team is he under?
He doesn't have one.
He doesn't have one.
He got dropped by someone a couple years ago. I don't know who it was.
He was Red Bull, I believe, and he was driving for Prema last year. So I'm not actually no. Was it Ferrari? I don't know, but I know he was
driving.
But isn't that in F3? Because isn't he a rookie this year?
Yeah. So in F3 he was driving for Prema. I'm not sure if it was last year actually, but I know that he's been dropped from Prema and he's gone elsewhere. So it might have been Ferrari, it might have been Red Bull, but yeah, he's not in any academy at the minute, and his performances are warranting a massive grade.
That could be quite interesting, considering if he ends up winning the standings, he could literally go anywhere into F1 if they wanted to.
Unfortunately, I feel really sorry for some people in that F2 grid because, Kimi Antonelli and Ollie Beerman, they've basically got a future in Formula 1. But Prema are well off the pace.
Antonelli deserve it though.
Yeah, but they're well off the pace this year. I mean, Beerman made an unbelievable overtake on Kimi Antonelli the weekend.
Beerman's locked in a seat. Beerman is 100% locked in a seat.
100%.
But I still don't think Antonelli deserves it at all.
He hasn't even got a podium yet,
next year.
No,
No.
they haven't got a podium.
Isn't this high?
Does he? Oh no, this. I'm
Has-
looking at the Formula
fifth.
2. I'm looking at
Also-
the Formula 2 website at the minute, and it tells you the amount of points that they've got from a race, not the position, which
By
is
the way,
confusing.
yeah, when Ollie was mentioning there about how like the leader of the championship's on like 80 points, Paul Aaron, right, and then it's close 60. Like they have 2 races every week. They get points for pole. That just goes to show how close it is in the sense of the leader's only on 80 points, and they're like what 5 or 6 races in. So then times that by 2, and then add pole position points on as well. You'd think they'd already be like in the 150s, but that's how close it is. You know, you win one week, you don't even get in the points for 2 races the week after. Unbelievable. Genuinely is. It's like it is the definition of the EFL Championship. They say the Championship's the best league in the world. It's just because it's so competitive, and that seems to be the case with F2 as well. But yeah, shout out to Zach O'Sullivan because that was a brilliant feature race win. Started P15, and then funnily enough, Logan Sargent started P15, and everyone was like, "Oh, you know, Williams Academy, or can the Williams driver replicate it?" No, but it was good for Zach O'Sullivan. He had what I like to see as well. He seems to have quite a supportive fan base. One in who was Georgia Stanway, Lioness and Bayern Munich player. So that was pretty cool as well. There were some other people out there supporting Zach O'Sullivan. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they went to school. I have no idea, but pretty cool. But yeah, no. So I was going to mention that, but yeah, go on, Ollie. You've got something else to say.
I just quickly wanted to touch on his teammate and Will's prediction for the championship winner this year, Victor Martins. I mean, he seems to be no.
Will.
Well, yeah, I'll tell you what. You need to put that finger down. He started second in the feature race, and by turn 1, going into Sandevot, it's very short.
Yeah.
14th.
Yeah,
by turn 1.
He stalled it off the line or something. He just a lot of wheel spin. I don't know what it was.
I don't know what is going on with him. He's really not having a good year this year, and it's like for being so promising last year and winning Rookie of the Year, getting the most points out of any rookie that was in the on the grid, to now what he's doing at the minute. It's just I don't know what's happening. He's currently 20th in the standings with only 5, 6, 11 points to his name.
Wow.
So
yeah, that is pretty poor, and I think as well, Formula 2, unless you're a bigger name or you've got a lot of money backing you, one bad season in Formula 2, and it's the dream's pretty much over. Even if you come back and have a really successful second season, or you had a really good first season, it doesn't really matter. As soon as you seem to show any sort of weakness, I guess, in a Formula 2 season, the chances of you getting to Formula 1 are very difficult, unless you are, I guess, the likes of a Kimi Antonelli, etc. So
yeah, but he
doesn't. So far, he probably does in the long run, and he might be. Going back to my pen license theory, he might genuinely be someone that was made for Formula 1, but for whatever reason isn't for Formula 2. You just don't know, but yeah.
As I've said, and as I said in the final few episodes of last season that we done, it's no denying that he's a good driver. You don't go and win 5 separate championships in one calendar year and then fall short in a separate series. I think the thing is he has been dropped in at the deep end. Let's be real. He skipped Formula 3. He's been dropped in at the deep end, and he's still 17 years old, I believe. So I think another year in the series, and then you will start to see how good he really is. I mean, there are glimpses, but I don't think he's got it.
Also, as well, you mentioned it before. Prema definitely aren't the team that they were of the past, because even Bierman, who scored points in Formula 1 this year, I don't even think he's been on the podium, has he?
No, I don't believe so. I mean, obviously, you got the pole in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, of course.
Chucked into the F1.
Yeah.
Car,
so it's of course in Formula 2 is it all engines are this? What's all the same? Is it the engines?
All engines and all chassis are the same. So the only thing that is different is the
aero.
No, I think it's just how they adjust their car. So they're all given like the same kind of the setup. The setups are all different.
Whatever team decides to have more or less aero on each car, surely. with their setups.
More or less downforce.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'm trying to think of what I think it's the Mechachrome. I'm not sure whether it's the Mechachrome chassis and the Dallara engine, or whether it's vice versa. But I know they're the two companies
Dallara.
that.
Yeah, bless you.
I know that them two. I know that those two are the makers of each separate part. But yeah, I mean, Ollie Beerman came close this weekend. He was 4th, so he's close to getting his first podium of the season. But yeah, he's not got one yet.
He is definitely in the Haas seat for next year. I think everyone knows that will be his. I don't know when they'll announce it Haas, but they will be. By the way, just very quickly on the topic of Haas, the 2 Haas drivers that were disqualified from qualifying. Did anybody see what Gunter Steiner put on his Instagram story?
Yes, he put a photo of a tape measure.
And the reason for that was...
Why were they disqualified, Ben? Tell me why they were disqualified.
Well, they were... I actually don't know the specific, but it was something was measured incorrectly, right?
Oh,
it
you
was
don't know?
No, so it was something... Do you know it then?
Yes, I do know
it. Go on. Then.
It was the same... I think it was the same reason why Lewis Hamilton was disqualified in Brazil.
Right.
The rear wing... Basically, the measurement for the rear wing from their HQ to Monaco was sent incorrectly. It was typed out wrong. The measurement was wrong. So they got the measurement wrong for the rear wing, which then went past the rules because they said it was down to a communication error between Haas HQ and the Monaco team, the Monaco mechanics, which caused the rear wing to be illegal. And yeah, an utter complete howler from Haas.
Yeah, that's not any good. And
shocking.
But Gunter Steiner, he's just what funny guy.
He's definitely not bitter at all, is he?
No, not in the slightest.
Not bitter at all, is he? No.
But I think I wanted to mention that. So realistically, on the last thing I want to say on F2, by the way, Ollie. So ART, you mentioned last week the fall from grace and how they were bottom of the constructors or something, and then obviously Paul Aaron. No, not Paul Aaron, sorry. Is it Paul? No, who's...
Victor Martins and Zach O'Sullivan.
Zach O'Sullivan, that's the one. To then go and win the race. That just shows you, F2, how you can literally 1 minute be at the bottom and then all of a sudden you've got a race winner.
It's confusing. Like, if you were going to watch it for the first time, not knowing anything about it, you could watch it 1 week and be like, oh, they're by far the best team on the grid. He's the best driver on the grid. Then you can watch it the next week and be like, oh my God, what's happened?
Yeah.
Like, it's so topsy-turvy, it's ridiculous. But going on ART, they're currently 7th in the standings on 51 points. AIX Racing, so Taylor Barnard's team, the team that have got 2 podiums in the last 2 race weekends,
yeah,
race last in the standings.
Yeah, but actually, you mentioned AIX Racing there. They had a collision, didn't they? And Dirksen was given penalty points, I'm pretty sure, from the feature race because he came out of the pits and he didn't see his teammate and they collided, didn't they? They bashed wheels.
It wasn't his teammate. I can see how you made that mistake because they both got the...
Oh, they both got the state livery.
It was Zane Maloney, yes. So Dirksen came out the pits. I can see how you've made the mistake because the AIX car is like a bronze with a luminous green on it, and then obviously Zane Maloney, who's Sauber Academy, drives with the bright green. So I can see how you make that mistake because everyone's been saying that to me as well. They're like, surely they're the same car. And I was like, no. But it's an easy mistake to make. What happened with the driver academy liveries? It's so hard to keep up with who's driving for who. You actually know who they're driving for. So
that's actually one thing I've learned this weekend. In American sport like NASCAR, IndyCar, no one actually refers to anyone by their name. It's all the pilot of the number 4, the number 38 car, the number 77 car. Like, no one says Kyle Larson, Joseph Newgarden. It's like, and it's the fact they say they're the pilot. Like, but
they say their names, but they don't actually say the team. It's like, you don't say like in F1, you say Verstappen in the Red Bull. It's always
Newgarden in Team Penske
in number 4. It's
weird. But it's they're driving the number 30. Imagine in Formula 1 terms, you got Crofty going, and on pole position is the number 44 car. Well, that would be good, by the way. But so I loved that. But thank you, Ollie. I guess that's Formula 2 for this weekend. So that is the feeder series spoken about, and that was really, really good weekend for those involved. But what I want to get into now is the Formula 1. The Monaco Grand Prix. There was so much to cover, both on and off of the track. Firstly, Will, I know that you weren't too pleased with the race, and I will be honest, neither was I. But there is still a lot to unpack. Now, we all know qualifying for Monaco, genuinely, hands down, might be the best session on the entire calendar. Monaco qualifying probably beats 24 races just because of how on the absolute margins, there's no margins for it. You have to be spot on. But then it comes to race day, we will start with the Sergio Perez crash. Firstly, what were your thoughts on it? Who do you think is to blame? Do you think Perez is, or Magnussen, or do you think it's a lap one incident?
I'm going to lean towards what race control said of it being more of a lap one incident.
So he's sitting on the fence.
But no. But I am going to put the blame more on Magnussen personally.
Okay.
Just because that section is the fastest part of the track. That is the main accelerating zone going up that hill. It's that and the tunnel. But that is the main fastest part. You are at full throttle going up that hill until you get to the casino section where you're even just letting off and letting the car go round. But they all know that isn't a straight line. That hill is not a straight line. There's a straight racing line, but the walls go like that. The walls kind of snake around you, but there's a straight racing line to follow. That's why you hardly see them going up there 2 by 2, let alone by 3. And Perez and Magnussen both know that wall on the right of them is going to eventually come over. Why Magnussen is putting his car there, knowing that wall he can see in front of him is coming over, I don't know. But at the same time, Perez will know it as well and will know Magnussen is there and has to give him room because Magnussen's front axle. We all know the rules. If your front axle's alongside, you are there. You have to give room. You can't just force them out. So that's why it's more of Magnussen because it's also lap one. No heroics, please. Why?
So were you happy with the outcome of no further action?
I was happy.
Just a little bit of background as well. Kevin Magnussen on 10 penalty points, 2 more, and it's a race ban.
Yeah, I was happy that there was no further outcome because I do think it would have been harsh because I feel like Perez could have moved over a bit more. Obviously, he doesn't have to, but they both would have known that the track was coming over. But I'm also glad that, Haas came out and said they were fuming with Magnussen. So I'm glad there'll be some repercussions in that way because it got unlucky for Haas because the crash then also resulted in Nico Hulkenberg being taken out as well, who was very innocent bystander who saw
he is because if you watch his onboard, he slows down obviously, and then he thinks, "Oh, I'm going to be able to get through this," and then he just gets clipped on the rear. He
starts to slow down before they even make contact because he knows it's going to happen. Yeah. He also knows that if one of them is going to come over before they even make contact, so he backs off the throttle, and then they go over, and then he sees the gap. Everyone knows the inertia of a car moving forward. We all saw it in the Indy car. How many times does a car roll forward and then just roll back? Everyone, it's going to happen. It just clips and takes it out. But I'm glad a lot of the blame was mainly put on him via Haas because that's a lot of damage as well. Like, that's a lot of money to pay to repair cars.
And I think as well, when you look at Perez's car, first lap, we only saw what happened to Carlos Sainz, and we'll mention that we saw what happened to Carlos Sainz, and then we see a red flag. And first of all, my first thoughts are, why do we need a red flag for that? Where he stops, he'll be able to be wheeled off, picked up by or whatever it is. Red flag, and then bang, cut to Perez, and you think, oh my goodness, like that is a huge, huge crash. What has happened here? And then as soon as I saw Magnussen was involved, my first thinking was, well, he's banned for Canada, but he's not. He will still be there racing. Well, unless those at Haas say otherwise, he will be there racing at Canada. But
he's on a fine.
he is on a huge fine line. But for anyone that doesn't know, Will, do you want to explain why Haas were at the back? Because in case you did watch qualifying, you'll be thinking, why were they there? But it's because they got disqualified.
Yeah, they were disqualified due to I love how they said this. They were disqualified due to a communication error because the measurements for the rear wing were transcribed wrong in the email spec or something like that of what the rear wing needed to be when building the car, basically, and it caused the rear wing to be illegal, meaning they were both disqualified from qualifying, which is quite comical.
But considering they came straight from Imola, because it's it's the same race with no. What would have been what goes to the factories anyway? Surely doesn't it just get loaded onto the track and go straight to Monaco anyway?
Well, no, because Monaco is more of a downforce circuit, so it would have been to do with the wing adjustment, maybe.
Right.
Something like that. I don't know. I don't work for Haas. It would be something to do with the wing adjustment of the rear wing or the front wing, and apparently the rear wing was made ineligible because it was out of the limitations of what it's supposed to be, which is quite funny.
Yeah, not good for Haas as well, because they did all right. They both got to Q2, which is obviously good. I mean, Nico Hulkenberg is so used to that P10 Q3 spot that he would have been a little bit disappointed, but I reckon K-Mag would have been. He probably thought they could have done better, as well as I think he came out and said after Q3 is points on a Sunday at Monaco. So obviously start from the back, and then obviously what's gone on to happen has happened. So that happens, and then there's a big delay. I don't know how long. It probably would have been. I think it would have been more than half an hour, if not 25 minutes.
The race started at 3. We then got going again at 4:45.
Right. Okay. So it was more than half an hour. Yeah. It was a long time.
Can I just say, right? So I started work at 10, and I was like, okay, I've got my break from 2 till 3. It's good. I can watch at least half of the race. I see the red flag come out, and then I see the thing going, FIA steward decision, race starts at 2:45, and I'm like, oh, for goodness sake. I got to watch 4 laps of the race. I probably could have watched at least 35 if there wasn't a red flag, but no, instead I got to watch 4.
Yeah, it's...
So you boys are going to have to fill me in on what else happened, because I have not seen anything.
Well, I can give you a fact and a stat, because that's what I love to do here. First time in Formula One World Championship history, so since 1950, that the top 10 in qualifying finished in their exact same positions they started in. It had happened before top 6, but it had never happened the entire top 10 before. Now, if you're thinking Spa in 2021, Perez crashed on the formation lap, so that doesn't count. So that is the first time that top 10 has ever finished in the order, because there was only 2 on-track overtakes. One of them, I think, was Sargent on Zhou.
Yeah.
And then there was another one, I think it was Stroll on someone.
That was actually a really clever move from Logan Sargent.
It was.
That was a very clever move. Using the blue flags as advantage and going up the inside.
Yeah, no, it was. But this might be quite mean to say, but when I saw that, my first thought was, I would imagine he's thinking to James Bowles, did you see that? You see, I deserve to stay. Like, mate, you just overtook for like 15th. But he might not have been saying that. That's just me being imaginative.
Talking of stats, Ben, and I know
go on.
Them, this is one that I saw earlier, and it made me really laugh. So you mentioned there was only 2 on-track overtakes, did you say?
Yeah.
I think I saw someone say that there were more TV camera angle cuts to drivers' girlfriends than overtakes in the race.
Yeah.
So
it wasn't. Look, I made a mistake as well actually on my qualifying thing. I said 72 laps and it's 78 in Monaco. I was thinking of Austria, but when when the rate, it is really difficult to kind of put it into words because it was a boring race, right? There is no denying that, but I still enjoyed it. And I think the reason why I enjoyed it was genuinely just because of how close the top four were to each other for the whole. Yes, Verstappen won in Imola by 7/10, and Norris was closing in. But genuinely, when is the last time you can say that a top four, like the person in fourth, could have won a race when you're 3/4 in?
Singapore last year.
Yeah, exactly. So my point there is, how much better is it when Max Verstappen's not at the front? Because that's twice. When he's not at the front, there's actually there's a fight going on, you know. And I got a bit of stick on Twitter. Oh, Verstappen only won it by 7/10 last week, but I am telling you, there is a championship brewing because no, Red Bull little mistakes here and there. The simulator didn't match, and that they were bad over the curbs this weekend. And he's qualified sixth, and he's hit the wall, and he's not actually overtaken. He was stuck behind Russell, that was on 70-lap old tires. That's what Monaco does. It does deliver special moments like that, and it might have been boring, but to me, it's special. And as well, it's part of the Triple Crown. Qualifying on the Saturday, like I said, it is probably the best session on the entire grid. I think Monaco qualifying is better than any race. Fair play to as well everyone in qualifying. No one binned it. There were no red flags in qualifying. And
a while.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, the swimming pool chicane, how many people kiss the wall, kiss the barrier, and it's like a loose barrier. It kind of knocks in. It doesn't, as long as it's not catching the suspensions of the cars, breaking the wheels, that front right. But I leave Monaco. I wish I was in Monaco, but I leave thinking to myself, I totally understand why people want it gone, but for me,
They
you
can't.
have to keep it.
Yeah.
I do like the idea, though, of maybe Indy 500 is a prime example. Yes, we know in America they love to do things like the wow factor, maybe a little OTT, although to be fair, I loved it. Maybe Monaco could be like a special. So Indy 500, it's the month of May, right? It's this whole big build-up. It's not just one weekend. There's various weekends, like 6 practice sessions, qualify. Maybe Monaco, you would have to have mandatory pit stops, or you have to run a certain tyre for a certain amount of just maybe we have sprint weekends. Maybe we should implement something new for Monaco. I think that it should be, because Monaco is this big weekend. It is this big ordeal. So therefore we can change the race structure maybe a little bit. I don't know. There's something there. And also as well, boys, I want to get your opinions and your takes on being able to pit under red flag conditions. I'll give you mine and then you give me yours. Mine is, I think you should be able to, but it shouldn't count as your mandatory pit stop. And the reason I say you should be able to is because say someone's crashed, but they're able to continue and they've put on a new set, it's then not fair on the other cars that wouldn't be able to. So I think you should be able to change under red flag, but it shouldn't count as your mandatory pit stop.
Going back to Formula 2, because that links it perfectly. In Formula 2, in the feature race, as I mentioned earlier, you have to make a mandatory pit stop. In the sprint race, you can choose whether to or not. They tend not to because there's only a short amount of laps. But in the feature race, you have to make a pit stop. However, you are not allowed to use your mandatory pit stop under the safety car. I'm not sure if it's the same for the red flag, but you can't use your mandatory pit stop as the one. So if you pit under the safety car, it's not your mandatory pit stop. You'd have to make another one. Under VSC, you can make your mandatory pit stop because it's only virtual. But for the full course safety car, it doesn't count as your mandatory stop, so you have to stop again. Right. So I think what do you think? Do you think they should bring that to F1? Do you think that could be a good? Again, as I said, I'm not sure if they do the same for red flags or not. But if that's the thing with the safety car, I think that's a good idea.
No, see, I don't mind the safety car thing. But for red flags, I'd say you're allowed to make a pit stop, but you have to go onto the same set of tyres. If you change, I don't think you should be allowed to change. You should be allowed to change tyres, but it shouldn't be a different compound.
How about I propose you this then? How about you can only go into the pit stop, or you can only go so when it's a red flag, obviously they all go back to the pit lane. But how about you're allowed to fix damage? if it's like minor, but you're not allowed to change your tyres.
Yeah, could be.
Wow, I didn't know we were on the podcast with Dominicali here. He's making the rules. He's offering us new rules.
You remember my crazy ideas last year? I've simmered down a bit, and I've actually got good ideas this year. I'm not thinking about putting sprinklers on the side of tracks anymore.
I think that I think the red flag makes it too overpowered. I just think it's a bit. I think if you're going to change tyres, you have to go onto the same compound.
When they crashed though, and they said, "Oh, they'll pit for hards and go to the end," my first thought was, "Yeah, but that's not going to happen though, because you're not going to do 76 laps on the same tyre." Oh, you are, and I couldn't believe George Russell. Alex Albon,
my driver of the day.
He's gone early. Well, I was going to say the tyre whisperer for so long was Sergio Perez. Then I always think of Albon just because of that Melbourne race 2022. But George Russell this week, well, everyone pretty much. It was only 6 pit stops. I saw on the DHL pit stop they couldn't even get the top 10 in that they did because there was only 6. And 2 of them were Sauber, both in the 2.5s. So very well done, Will. You're going to have to stop your Sauber pit stop. They can't do it anymore because they did 2 in 2.5 seconds.
Yeah, but you guys just hate on the livery, so... And it's,
it's still disgusting.
Oh, it's so good.
Also, as well, Guan Yu Zhou doesn't deserve to be in Formula 1. I'm going to say it now because he's not doing anything. He qualified P20 as well this weekend. Obviously, stuck because of Haas didn't. But yeah, not really any good. Also as well, Valtteri Bottas, who I thought my prediction of him going to Williams was like nailed on. Apparently, Carlos Sainz is going to Williams now. And I'm just thinking to myself, am I going to get anything right other than the actual top 5s? Like, I seem to not be getting any predictions right in the slightest. I was convinced Hamilton wasn't going to go to Ferrari. Oh, by the way, I saw this tweet the other day, yesterday. So true. I would be suffering so hard if I didn't know Lewis was going to Ferrari next year, by the way. If I didn't know this news and I thought that this was how his career was going to end, basically.
Yeah.
Boys, I wouldn't even be here on this podcast. It'd be so depressing.
To be fair, if we didn't know he was going to Ferrari, with the way he's driving, would you think it's his last year?
Yeah.
Because I think I would. I think if we didn't know that he was going to Ferrari next year,
insane as well.
You look at his attitude and the way he's driving, you would think, oh, he's retiring at the end of the year. He can't be bothered anymore.
I think, though, to be fair, if he wasn't going to Ferrari, though, and he was still at Mercedes, I don't think he'd be doing as bad as he's doing. Now, I don't think, you might not agree with me, and maybe I'm buying into the critical looking in or maybe bias or whatever it is you want to call it. But his cryptic post-quali message of George is going to beat me basically every week, hinting at the fact that they're prioritising George and Lewis is basically saying there is literally, it's black or white. There's 2 ways of looking at this. People are either going to say, oh yeah, he's saying that because he's getting beaten and he doesn't like it, so he's just going to come out and throw his team under the bus. Or it is because Mercedes are literally saying to Lewis, look, you're not our main driver anymore because you're leaving, so we're prioritising George. And that's why qualifying so far back. It could be if he was remaining at Mercedes, like we all know, he would have been. He'd be beating George and maybe getting that P4, not the P7s and 8s every week. So that's hindsight, really.
It's been his highest finish so far.
Well, the sprint race, the podium, but in a Grand Prix, it's probably going to be 5th or 6th. But like I said, I'm almost not bothered, if I'm being honest, just because I know what's happening next year.
Can I just say quickly as well? Talking about just vibes, I think it's been really interesting to see the past few weeks. Now that Max has got a fight to him, he seems to have more of a personality. He seems to be like, all the drivers seem to now be kind of enjoying themselves a bit more. There seems to, like in the paddock, whenever they're doing their press conferences, there seems to be a lot more like laughing and joking around with each other instead of being like, oh, we've just had to do a race again. It seems to be like, because obviously the George and Max at the end yesterday has been absolutely everywhere. And Ben, as much as we know that you're not the biggest fan of Max, that interview that him and George done yesterday was hilarious.
Look, I haven't seen this.
Oh, it's brilliant. Wait, Ben, let me just talk Will through it. So basically, Max is doing an interview with one of the
No, I
two,
think it was Viaplay. I think Viaplay or something.
and he was saying, "Oh yeah, it was really really boring." And then George walked into the back of camera shot and said, "Oh, me and George probably just go around for a 20-minute run around Monaco after this because it was that boring. We didn't have to do anything at all." And he was saying something like, "Oh, I need to go to the toilet on lap 20." That was probably
He said that was the hardest thing I had to deal with.
It's like now he has got competition and a bit of a fight. We're seeing more of his personality.
Yeah, and listen, right? I have to look. I'm fully behind it. I'm fully behind a little bit of emotion, a little bit of character. You know, I am not, believe it or not, I am actually not anti Max Verstappen, where it's like, hey, what did I say last week when he won by 7/10? What did I say? I said fair play.
Yeah.
I said fair. And the way he's going it's gonna make me like him more because he's showing a little bit of character. I like it. And I've said I actually don't mind him winning races as long as there's competition. And there was in Imola. And I don't mind seeing that side to him. It's Red Bull as an organisation that sometimes I've had a little bit of disregard with, and maybe Christian Horner and some of the allegations and things like that. But Max Verstappen
himself,
yeah, there are still obviously some things that I choose to maybe not agree with. But no, it's not. It's not. Oh, I want to see him fail. No, because he's a very, very good driver, and he's a very funny guy as well. And for context, Will, the way that he said that about how boring the race was, the way he said it was hilarious as well. He didn't just go and go, "Oh yeah, no, it was a really boring race." He was like going, "Mate, how boring was that? Like, that was ridiculously boring. It was just funny. Like it was really funny." And he was suggesting like they should do mandatory 5 pit stops every Monaco race. And he was like saying, "Yeah, maybe we should get out and run one lap." And it was funny. Like it was funny.
To be fair,
Maybe they should do that.
He did
Maybe they should run one lap.
No, they run the first lap all the way around, then get in the cars.
Yeah.
But even longer.
Yeah. You do like Le Mans style, but you just run the entire lap. And then you swim through the swimming pool.
Like a triathlon.
Then get in the car.
Right. Who would
win? Do that in Monaco as well. They could do the swimming part.
Who would win that first lap? If they ran the first lap of Monaco, who do you reckon would win? I'm putting money on George Russell. Those long legs have got
long leg. Yeah, I was thinking that. Poor Yuki will be at the back. I was thinking George
at the back because do you remember the Drive to Survive episode where he was just like, "Oh, I really can't."
Yeah, he didn't even want to train.
Yuki would just be at the back. Bottas would probably jump on his bike and cycle.
No, Lewis is getting on his electric scooter.
Yeah. I think I can't lie. I think Max should be at the front just because of how much of a fitness freak his dad made him. Think about it. That boy's been conditioned since the age of 6. And that boy's been put through his paces since the age of 6.
I think Gasly would be up there.
Ocon would be as well.
Well, Ocon would definitely be up there going into, going into a certain tunnel.
I think that's a brilliant segue to get onto it.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Alpine, I tell you what, as Will likes to say, the French Revolution War.
You know what?
It is underway.
Listen, we're not massive Drive to Survive fans because of the drama they create. Oh my God, I cannot wait to fly on the wall in that post-race debrief. Oh my word.
Because the context.
Ocon is getting sacked. You heard it here first. He is gone.
The context is because Drive to Survive were with Ocon this weekend and they were with Alpine.
Oh my God.
They just know. They always seem to pick.
He's so sacked. And the brother is useless. We talk about Guan Yu Zhou and Logan Sargent not being on the grid and Lance Stroll. Get that man gone.
No, I disagree with you.
He is a dive bomb merchant, and he gets it wrong every time.
No, massive respect for Esteban Ocon, not this weekend. He shouldn't have done that. But I disagree with that. I do not put Esteban Ocon in the same category as Guan Yu Zhou and Logan Sargent. He is a very good driver. He
reminds me of Neil Mopay. Honestly, he's just...
just because he's French?
No, he looks like... have you ever seen Esteban Ocon and Neil Mopay in the same room at the same time? No.
Can I... No, but... the funny thing about the incident was no one, like, obviously no one knew that it had happened. We'd seen Sainz, we'd seen Perez. Then all of a sudden, they just cut to the two Alpine drivers, and obviously Ocon in the end ended up DNFing. Bruno Famin on French TV was absolutely fuming and said there will be consequences and we have a tough decision to make. And then Craig Slater, Sky Sports, has come out today and said that there is a real possibility he's going to be dropped for Canada. And Ollie, Mr. Jack Doohan over here, is going to be taking the seat.
He's getting sacked.
I don't think he's getting sacked, but there was a vote. There was a vote. Someone put out. I can't remember who it was. If it was an official, news outlet, or if it was just a fan page or something. But everyone knows Ocon's looking for a way out in 2025 anyway. The whole paddock knows that. But do you think Bruno Famin knows that and might just be thinking, well, let's just get rid of him anyway? Or do you think not? For me personally, that would be a very silly. I think it would be a very silly thing to do.
I don't care if that's you're looking for a way out. What on earth are you doing? We spoke about Magnussen making a move on a Red Bull on lap one. To go down the inside of your teammate at Portier is the stupidest thing, because we've all seen it when Jenson Button tried it in 2017 when Pascal Wehrlein ended up at a 90-degree angle.
Yeah.
See.
And the Perez Leclerc one.
But Perez done that on purpose. What are you doing? Like, it's just. We all know Perez done that on purpose. We all know he did. Let's be honest. What are you doing? It's not even. He's behind him, going down, going over the pavement, going down. He's behind him, and he just goes, "Yeah, all right," into the side of him. Why? It's your teammate.
It wasn't the cleverest of it.
It's not the first time that's happened though this year. Like, that's the first time they've majorly come together. It's the first time they've come together since Australia last year. But it's not the first time they've come close and there's been like,
I don't know if you saw Ocon's Instagram story and tweet, but he's in job saving mode because he came out and took full responsibility, apologised, and I think I think it would have been a tough weekend for him. The amount of slating he would be getting in the press and everything. It's going to be very interesting to see the way it plays out. Even Gasly came out after and genuinely named and said, I have no idea what Esteban was thinking there. That's not right. He shouldn't be doing that. It is going to be interesting. Obviously, he now has a 5-place grid penalty as well for Canada, Ocon. But personally, Alpine would be making the wrong decision giving him the boot, even if it was for one race, because personally I think that's too harsh a punishment. And also, in my opinion, he's better than Gasly. He's outperformed Gasly this season as well. Yeah, Gasly scored his first point this year. But yeah, Ocon was the first one getting into Q2, getting the point. So I think it would be a huge mistake if they did that.
I think Gasly's better than Ocon. But Ocon's used to having the car underneath him. So
Gasly's 2021 season in that AlphaTauri was brilliant. He was like he was in the top 5.
Qualified top 6 pretty much every race.
He's got it in him. And obviously as well, the great thing about the Alpine drivers, they are both race winners. But when it happened, the first thought was Will, because you've been saying that this was something was going to happen all year long, and there you go. And I still don't think it's going to be the end of it. It's not the first time
they come together.
It's not going to be the last.
Yeah, no, it's not going to be, because all season there's been little touches or little unnecessary overtakes that have really hampered them, and you can tell eventually each person was getting more and more and more annoyed. And this will push Gasly over the edge because Gasly is fuming. Yeah, and it's also put Ocon's in job saving mode because he's getting sacked. He's 100%.
No, I don't think so, but I also hope not.
Nah,
and I do think it was harsh treatment how he got a penalty, but there was nothing for the lap 1 incident between Perez and Magnussen. I don't know. Nevertheless, it wasn't good at all. Thankfully, Gasly was able to continue, and he got first point because If he'd taken them both out, oh my word, that
If he'd
wouldn't.
taken them both out, he would have been told, go home for the foreseeable future. For the rest of the season.
It wouldn't have been a long drive, would it? So
No, probably could have walked home.
Yeah,
but they all live in Monaco. The actual race itself, as we mentioned, 2 overtakes not the most interesting. But one thing that has to be said, how just incredible is it that these drivers, the speed they go, okay, fine, maybe not as fast as other circuits, but that they're able to think strategically mid-race. There was the point where I can't remember the specifics, but Leclerc he didn't want to slow down and conserve tyres, or he did want to, or something, because of the gap. Russell all the way back in 5th. They didn't want to leave enough. They didn't want to leave enough of a gap for pit stops. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, this is incredible that they're able to think. Like, at one point, George Russell was 17 seconds behind. He's not going to be in your mirrors or anything. And you're thinking, no, we can't let him pit or whatever.
Yeah, what was going on was Russell was, at one point, Russell was nearing enough 20 seconds behind Norris.
It was like Alonso 2022, just holding up a train.
So basically, and that would have meant you need 22 seconds to make a pit stop in Monaco and then come back out. As most tracks, apart from Silverstone and Imola, where the pit lane is longer. And
Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, and Abu Dhabi as well. But and if Norris would have done that, Norris would have pitted onto fresh tyres, still stayed out ahead of Russell, and then would have been all over the back of Sainz. Now, obviously, as we found out, Verstappen tried that. It didn't work because track position was more important because of the size of the cars. And it's very difficult to overtake in Monaco anyway, but I think it's even harder now, and something's got to be done. I don't know what, but yeah. And Leclerc was basically started to decelerate, saving tyres. He didn't want to do too much because he knew the threat of Piastri, but he was then bringing that top 4. The top 4 kept moving like a slinky, basically, is the best way to put it. Kept coming together and going apart because of either Leclerc speeding up or slowing down to bring them all together. And it just meant that Norris couldn't get that pit stop off to do it. But what was really impressive was when Leclerc came over the radio and said about how he knew what the margin was. And he kind of, it was really funny, a bit of banter between him and his engineer. He basically, do you want to know the margins? And they were like, no, we know it. And he goes, that's rude. And it's just like, basically what the commentary said was, it's basically them saying, we know it's Charles. We don't want the rest of the grid.
Everyone else to know,
because every pit radio, every team radio is monitored by every single team.
Do you know what it reminded me of when he was holding up the top 4, if you will? It reminded me of Hamilton in Abu Dhabi 2016 when he was trying to hold up Rosberg so that he'd be overtaken by either one of the Ferraris or the Red Bull, because obviously Lewis needed to win the championship, but he needed like Rosberg to finish 3rd or 4th or something. And so that whole race in Abu Dhabi, he literally just backed Rosberg up. And that's what it reminded me of. But listen, Ollie, you've seen me give praise to Max Verstappen. Leclerc deserves some praise. Finally, I was so happy for him. 2017 in Formula 2, DNF. 2018, DNF. 2019,
DNF.
No, it was DNS, I think.
No,
was the
2021 was the DNS.
Okay, so yeah, 2020 there's no race because of COVID. 2021's the DNF, and this was his 3rd pole position, and 2. One thing they said on the parade lap, which even he didn't think of, and I found really interesting.
2022.
Well, so he had 2 poles previously, but he'd never had a standing start, because the one year was wet weather, so it was a safety car start, rolling start, and then obviously the other one, he didn't even get to start because he had an issue. Also, and obviously everyone knows about the Leclerc Monaco curse, and I was so genuinely so happy for him when he crossed that line. First Monegasque driver to win the Monaco Grand Prix since 1931, by the way, and that's when it wasn't even classified as a Formula 1 World Championship race. So technically the first to ever do it, really. And not disrespecting history, but in terms of actual Formula 1 World Championship. And just how many times have I said on this podcast about, when people win a race, it should just be like this big thing. And I was so happy for the emotion he showed on the radio, the emotion he showed when he got out the car and then he jumped. I felt sorry for the poor steward who literally got caught up in it all, but the marshal. But it was genuinely amazing. So happy for him. And this is a take actually that it's now got me thinking: is Monaco being your home Grand Prix? Does that equivalent to that being the best home Grand Prix win, if that makes sense? Like Charles winning his home Grand Prix, is that bigger than Lewis winning the British Grand Prix?
Massively.
Yeah,
Massively. Absolutely. Monaco is like people know Monaco just because of the Formula One track. They don't do it for obviously like we as fans now we know it as well. It's got the casino there. It's like the harbour, really expensive, no taxes, but we from an outsider,
brilliant. Brilliant.
As an outsider, people know Monaco as the pinnacle of Formula One, the home, not the home of Formula One, but the home away from home of Formula One.
I'll tell you what.
And to win at Monaco as a Monegasque driver, I can't even fathom how he felt.
The one thing about Monaco is, you say about the whole like, did you see the rich little so-and-so that pulled up with a yacht that had a Bugatti Chiron on the back of it?
Yeah.
Which he then got crane loaded off of and drove around in it.
Yeah, but...
all while having a super yacht parked there.
Yeah, but did you see that... Did you see
size boat?
No, did you see Nikita Mazepin bought a boat and showed up as well? Did you not see the crash? Did you not see the boat crash in the harbour?
Oh, nice. Yeah.
That was crazy. Thank God no one got hurt, by the way, because I've never seen a boat crash before. So that was mental.
I just want to quickly touch on it. I know we say this quite a lot, obviously being journalism students. We like to talk about the pundits or the commentators, and as much I tweeted this earlier from my personal account as well. As much as I love Crofty, the way Alex Jakes articulates everything about a race weekend, whether it be a tiny crash, a race win, the start of a race, an overtake, the passion and the energy and the just the entire narration of what he says is phenomenal. How it was so emotionally powerful, the way he concluded Leclerc's final two sectors. It was like we said
what you want to listen to.
We said about Harry Benjamin last week. We said, you've done a great job. You've done really well. Your first time on Sky Sports F1. Obviously, Alex Jakes isn't on Sky Sports F1. He's on F1 TV, but he's also doing the Formula 2 and the Formula 3. But, oh my God, the way he described them final few corners and the way he talked about Leclerc and his life and how much that win meant to him was...
It's beautiful.
It was beautiful.
It was beautiful. Can I just say as well, and genuinely, you're going to hate on me for this, not to take it away from Leclerc, because like I've said, I was so happy for him. But I always think back to Abu Dhabi, right, that final race, where if they had done the right thing and finished behind safety car, no one would have wanted that, for the spectacle of the season to end that way. But for it to have something would have like that should have been replicated, to have a lap where a speech is built up. Imagine having the likes of an Alex Jake or Crawford, whoever. Imagine having an entire lap to dedicate like a paragraph, like a full-on sentimental speech about Lewis, becoming an 8-time world champion, like what Alex Jake did for Leclerc. That's what I always believed should happen. So when he was doing that and he's starting his speech from like as soon as Leclerc starts his final lap, that kind of took me back to there. But you're right, it was beautiful speech. It was delivered perfectly right onto the crust of like how he then crossed the line. So elegant, so beautiful, and I'm sure and I'm glad as well to see the praise that he was getting from all his fellow colleagues, Laura Winter, Will Buxton, so on and so forth. It was great.
Well, it's blown up on Twitter, especially like so many people are saying, "Oh my god, this guy, how he's narrated the final lap is absolutely phenomenal," and it to me in a way it's kind of annoying or not annoying, but it's kind of like I'm a bit of both, but like I'm glad he's finally getting that recognition because he's been doing it in Formula 2 for so many years, and I think over the past 2 years I've kind of lent a bit more towards his style of commentary than Crofty's.
Yeah,
and
Ollie's gatekeeping Alex Jakes.
I'm gatekeeping Alex Jakes, but no, I'm happy that he's finally getting the recognition. But I'm also a bit upset that people are only now taking.
But it got me thinking. It did get me thinking. Like, how rare is it, especially in Formula One, with how toxic it seems to be, like on social media now, with the likes of Drive to Survive, and how it's like you've got to pick one side or the other. It seems how it's so rare to see people get praise. Apart from maybe the drivers. When's Natalie Pinkham, getting when's anyone on the panel getting praise? It's like, well, it's their job. They're there to kind of dictate the way it should be played. So actually, it's just really nice to see. The only one downfall from my point of view this weekend, and actually I'm starting to feel this every weekend now, which sucks a little, is I can't watch a Formula One Grand Prix anymore without getting slightly upset that it's like I'm not there. And just in the sense of I want to work in a Formula One so badly that the thought of it maybe never happening hurts so much. But like I remind myself, 19 turning 20, I've set myself a goal to be working there by the time I'm 25. But just seeing the paddock and seeing when Ted does his notebook and seeing all the little ins and outs and seeing the yacht part, seeing like Naomi Schiff. By the way, I love Naomi Schiff. I think she's brilliant. She was genuinely such a great addition for when she came in last year or the year before. But when she's doing like how do you pronounce the watch? Is it company? Is it Tag Heuer or Tag Heuer? She's there doing some weeks she's doing F1 Academy, and then she's with Sky, and then she's later that night hosting a yacht party. And I just think to myself, wow. Like, even if I was just I'll have to find my specific role, which I'm good at, which to be fair is more of a writing aspect, but I prefer more content creation. But even just being a camera operator, just the idea of, checking your phone email inbox and the company you work for have sent you tickets and having to say to people, oh no, so I can't meet you for a coffee this weekend because I'm going to be in Singapore. Oh, I can't the week after because I'm in Monaco. And I just think being in that paddock, being in that paddock when in Miami when Lando won, being there for Leclerc when he won and jumping in the marina with Fred, I just think those are memories to last a lifetime.
I'm definitely going to listen to this lap after this because I haven't heard it yet. I haven't actually heard Alex this lap.
It's phenomenal, but let's be real. If the pit stop boys can make it onto the grid, then
anyone can. Shout out Martin Brundle. Will, you wash your mouth out with soap, putting disrespect on Martin Brundle, by the way, in the group chat. Absolute legend. No, Will, what are you doing? He's Martin Brundle.
Martin Brundle's grid walk, okay, don't get me wrong, most of the time it's really good.
All of the time.
No. This week it did annoy me because
how can you say that?
He was just being rude for no reason.
No, where was he being rude? Where he went, I run this place?
It was the interview with Kylian Mbappe. Like, just there's no need for you to act so arrogant. Kylian Mbappe is. You can ask 100 people. Do you know who these people are? Hold up a photo of both of them, and all of them go, "Oh, yeah, that's Kylian Mbappe," and probably 35% would say, "Oh, that's Martin Brundle."
Yeah, exactly. But that's where you're wrong, because I've always thought, and I've always said this, that I don't know if it's biasy because we only have Sky over here. I know we have Channel 4 highlights, but Sky, that I almost feel as though you should be pre-war, like you should almost be given like a, what's the word I'm looking for?
A waiver?
Upfront information. No, just like upfront information. You should be told that, oh, this is Martin Brundle. If he comes up to speak to you, it's good PR for you because he's a legend of motorsport.
He doesn't
don't play him off.
Need the PR though.
No, but it's more.
It's It's the
It's more from a point of
questions
view.
asked.
No, but it's more. You have to imagine he'll be told in he. I actually reckon Martin Brundle had no idea who Mbappe was. I genuinely don't think he would have known who he is. And he'll be told in his ear, you need to speak to him. You make sure you get something out of him. We need this for us. And so
No.
he's there like, right, well, I've got to get something here. He never knows. He hardly ever knows anyone he's interviewing. He's being
No.
told on the spot, this is so-and-so, and they're a silver medalist in the 2004 Athens Olympic or something. Like, you know, like...
Did you see, right, so Anthony and Dallo literally were on the grid. So the two United boys won the FA Cup won the FA Cup Saturday, flew out to Monaco Saturday night after
Mason Mount as well, was there?
And Mason Mount was there, and Ben Chilwell was there as well.
Yeah, there was loads of people. Trent, Virgil van Dijk.
Yeah, but so they interview the two United boys. They interviewed Dallo because Dallo can actually speak English. And he goes, oh yeah, congratulations on the FA Cup. How are you feeling? Yeah, good. Oh yeah, how you feeling after the win? You just asked him that. Why are you asking it him again?
No, Will, because
he's. Do you think he's going to?
I don't think Mark.
The FA Cup. Oh, I'm actually fuming. To be fair, I wish we lost.
Yeah, but Will,
why are you asking that question?
No, Will, he would have been getting told in his ear. You need to. They won the FA Cup yesterday. Martin Brundle, right? When he's on the grid, you can tell, you can see it in him. He is looking for top content, right? And more than anything, he just wants people to have the same love and interest in Formula One that he has. He says it all the time. So what do you think of our amazing sport, right? Because he just wants, when people who know their stuff and actually give him a solid answer, like the South African rugby player, who I think is also friends with Naomi Schiff, to be fair, but he's given, I think the pit stops will be interesting, and he goes, oh, you know your stuff. He likes that, and he wants to have a conversation with famous people that love F1, not these influencers that are there just for, like the one from Percy Jackson and Baywatch, I can't remember her name, and she's just, I know he says, what have you got coming up? And she says, this project. But then he asks her a different question of, what other races will we see you at? And she just announces her project again. It's like, no, that's not what we've asked you. You've said what your next movie is. So I'm sorry, Will, I'll have to disagree with you.
That's not his questions. That's her being thick. That's her being his question of asking an FA Cup, who literally won an FA Cup less than 24 hours ago. Oh, how are you feeling after the win? He's not going to turn around and say he's fuming, is he?
Yeah, but Will, he's on the clock. He's on the clock. He's being told he's got to interview people he's never met. Imagine you got asked to go and speak to an Olympic swimmer, right? Like, imagine she's right. You don't even know her, and you're being told in your ear, right? Turn around. That's Rebecca Adlington. Right, go.
Yeah, but it's the
and you don't know anything about her, so you're getting information. Rebecca, Olympic swimmer. How's it feel to swim?
He says,
like, that's what's gonna happen.
Mbappe, he says to Mbappe, I can't remember what he says to Mbappe.
No, he says, "Can you run fast in the cars?"
He just not that. That's it. He goes, no, I just want to enjoy the sport today as a fan. I don't want to get into it too much. And then he goes, oh, well, and then keeps asking him questions.
That's the job of a presenter, Will.
No, mate.
Well, that's the job of a presenter.
Yeah, even after Mbappe says, "No, I'm just going to enjoy it as a fan. I'm not going to say anything else." To then try and pester him more, and then even though Mbappe doesn't answer, he then starts getting annoyed.
Mate, that is the role of a journalist, of a presenter. Like, look at Sky Sports all the time. I can't remember the guy's name, but anywhere he goes, mics are in people's faces.
I find myself just getting more and more just
I can't believe you're saying this.
Just more and more disappointed.
I'm going to give you an Esteban Ocon race ban if you keep disrespecting the GOAT, Martin Brundle.
Oh, another piece of slander I'd like to throw. Lance Stroll, you are a pleb, because did you guys not see what happened?
Where he works, I know.
Right,
he got the puncture.
Alonso holds up the entire pack at the back of the pack, so Lance Stroll can pit, go on to softs, and then chase after the points.
No. The softs were for when he
okay, right. So he pits onto fresh tyres so he can chase back up to the points. He then puts it in the wall and gives himself a puncture and has to pit again and loses all momentum.
Yeah, but, well, to be fair, I'm not trying to go against everything you say today, by the way, but to be fair, like we saw with track position, he never would have got to that P10 anyway. Gasly would have had it.
Doesn't matter. Your teammate's done all that. Your teammate's done that for 72 laps, and you put it in the wall.
Well, he tapped for context, Ollie. I really wish I knew like all the sayings, like Sandavot and stuff. But you know the one
What tunnel
where
is it? What tunnel you think?
so they come out the tunnel, and then it's that left and quick right, and then left.
Isn't
That
it?
first left, the barrier
Isn't
that sticks out. Amount of times on the F1 game I've hit that, by the way.
it-
But yeah,
it's
rear
a
left.
chicane.
No,
No.
Villeneuve was Imola.
Yeah. Sorry.
I know Sandavot, the casino court. I know swimming pool chicane.
The hairpin.
But no, that was it was a shame for him. What I was going to say with Leclerc as well, I said it in the video. It was 39 races without a win. Austria 2022. So,
jeez,
not just the fact it was that he won his home race. That's the first time in 39 races Charles Leclerc had won a race. First time as well, he finally won on pole. 12 consecutive races where he hadn't won from starting on pole. So that it's huge for him, huge. And like I said, mate, I was so happy for him. And Oscar Piastri Leclerc. What a weekend from the Leclerc family, by the way. The adoption and everything. And did you see the FP1 graphics where it said Oscar Piastri Leclerc? It was brilliant. And actually, fair play to Piastri because
on the actual graphics.
Yeah, have you not seen it? God, bloody
chance.
You boys have seen nothing this weekend.
I wasn't had an excuse.
It was. Because obviously Piastri every weekend he'll say that he's got some 1/16th Italian or something in it, and he said searching my roots for any Monegasque heritage, and Leclerc said I can adopt you if you want, and then it became a meme and joke throughout the entire weekend. There was a bit as well where Carlos Sainz was getting a little bit jealous about it, and Leclerc was like, "Don't be jealous, Carlos." Also, as well, I don't know why I didn't mention it in Imola. Leo Leclerc, the dog, one of the cutest things. One of the cutest things. It's like the center of attention. So no, that was really good as well. And I'll say it to the cows come home. Genuinely so happy for him. But Piastri's the real deal. He's just seen it.
I've just seen it. Oscar Piastri Leclerc. Nice.
Yeah, but he is, and also after Leclerc, who is Charles Leclerc's brother, he said after the race, and I'm really happy for my nephew Oscar as well. It's going to be a good night out for the family. So that was brilliant. No, and Oscar, like I said, he's the real deal.
I love that when like the media get in on it as well.
Yeah,
I love that when like these professional accounts, like these governing body accounts, get in on banter as well. It's why we said we love Mercedes as well for it. It's brilliant.
I don't think either of you boys would have seen this, but because of obviously how boring the race was in the for all of it pretty much, but mainly the middle part, the Twitter admins for VCARB and Red Bull started playing noughts and crosses mid-race.
No.
Yeah.
You're lying.
Talking of stuff on Twitter, by the way, as well. So the past 3 weeks, there has been the first cycling Grand Tour of the year, which is the Giro d'Italia, which is basically the Italian version of the Tour de France. And the admin for their Twitter page is absolutely phenomenal, putting out so many funny things. And you're probably wondering, how am I going to bring this into F1, right? So there was a breakaway in one of the stages, which means a few riders went up the road and left the bigger group of riders behind. And two of these riders, who were both French, I believe, went round a roundabout and they both collided. Neither of them fell off their bikes. Both of them were okay, luckily. But the admin for the actual Giro cycling account tweeted 5-second time penalty for Esteban Ocon. And I was like, that is brilliant. How worlds cross line.
Okay, I've just seen this noughts and crosses video. Do you know how it ends?
No.
Oh, honey. It's like, oh, honey.
It ends with, so Red Bull Racing win. It ends with, got distracted by Stroll pitting. Thanks a lot at Aston Martin F1.
I think as race weekends go, I mean, it's pretty boring. But to see Charles win in his stomping ground, it's just phenomenal. And I don't think there could have been a better winner.
No, and it was so amazing to see Prince Albert as well get involved with the show. Oh, that was one thing that absolutely cracked me up. It's one of them ones where you have to be in the moment, and I'll say it now, and it'll just be a little smirk. But I was genuinely almost not crying with laughter, but like genuinely found it so funny. Where Charles said to Fred, are you going to come? They're not at the marina bit at this point, but they said like, oh, are you going to? It's tradition to like jump into the pool or whatever. Are you going to come and do it with me? And Fred turns around and goes, I might not be able to. I might be getting arrested because I sprayed the prince with champagne. And I was genuinely dying because it's just the way he says it. And Fred is doing
might actually be my
bits at
favourite.
Ferrari. Yeah, he's doing
such a
bits at
character.
Ferrari.
He's
so good at the cohesion and the way he's brought the team together. And how good is it as well to actually hear Ferrari team radio and not thinking, oh, there's something wrong here? Because obviously Charles Leclerc has got a new race engine in as well now. He hasn't got Xavi anymore.
Have you seen Have you seen what he was like in Imola? Have you seen that there's someone edited down? He's basically just he's just being so nice. So, okay, Charles, good job. You're doing really, really well. That was a good lap. So proud of you. You're doing really well. He's just every corner. He's like, okay, that was really good. Well done. Good move. But it's the entire race he's talking to. He's a little dog.
Think the fact. Sorry, Wolf, speaking over you, but I think the fact of that they're already like that. Charles, as we said earlier, Charles already said, "Oh, that's a bit rude." I think the fact that he's already said that to him, they've already kind of got that jokey
name. A bit of a bromance.
After 2 races, it's just like that's probably going to make Charles feel a lot more like calm down, like because before it was like we are checking, we don't know, we are checking. It's like, well, no, that's not going to help a driver. It's just going to be playing on his mind. If they're saying to him like whatever they were saying to him, and he just goes, "Well, that's a bit rude." You can already tell that there's a bit of as you said, a bromance going on.
That's
there.
The worst impression I've ever heard. By the way, never do that ever again.
Whatever, I don't care.
But on the subject of team radio, and this hurts me to say it because I'm a fighter for Bono and Lewis as like my favorite duo. But why on earth were they not saying that Lewis Hamilton's outlap was critical? They said no, not Lewis comes on the radio and goes, do I need to push? And they go, no, normal. Didn't tell him that. Obviously, if they're going to box Lewis, they're obviously going to box Max the next lap. What is going on? Like the downfall is it's hard. It's hard to see it or watch it, man.
It's hard. It's gone wrong. A lot's gone wrong.
Yeah, a lot has gone wrong.
I feel for you, Ben. I can't lie.
No, don't feel for me because, like I said, next year we're cooking. Next year we are cooking. But also, I like to give you a little quiz question every week. So, first time since what year that a Red Bull didn't finish in the top 5? What year? When was the last time a Red Bull didn't finish in the top 5 at Monaco?
2018. No. Danny won it. Yeah, 2017.
No, I'm gonna go 20. Oh God, no. Oh, last year they didn't
finish in the top 5. Any car didn't finish in the top 5 at Monaco.
2008.
2007. Ollie, you're good at these. You always get very close. Will so the next one I had for you, was that Red Bull only scored 8 points this weekend. The fewest that they've returned from a race weekend since when? Now, genuinely think here because you both should technically get this one. Think.
2022 Melbourne.
What are you saying, Ollie?
Melbourne this year?
Nope.
Fewer than 8 points?
Yeah.
Oh,
no, well, the fewest they've returned, full stop, since when?
2022 Bahrain.
2022 Bahrain, correct, and they both DNF'd.
Is it not Melbourne as well when they double DNF?
No, because Perez would have finished either 5th or above. So there you are. And Verstappen's 11 race streak of leading the first lap ended in Monaco as well, obviously, because he started 6th. Lewis Hamilton has now finished in the top 8 in Monaco for 16 times in 17 visits. He has also finished in the position he started here for the 5th time in the last 6 races. That's quite an interesting one. So wherever he started the last 6 races, 5 times, he's finished in the same position. I remember, what year was it where he had the awful pit stop? Can't remember. There was obviously the 2019 one, though, the one he dedicated to Niki Lauda, where... Did you see the video I sent you, James Vowles? Have you ever seen that video? I saw it for the first time this weekend. I'd never seen it before. It is brilliant. Where James Bowles is like, "Oh yeah, he's not going to be happy that we kept him out on those tyres, but we'll have a hug and a laugh about it." And then Lewis comes in spraying champagne all over him, all over their computers. It's hilarious.
Did you see the interview they did during the red flag with James Fowles about it?
Yeah,
They said, obviously, you left Lewis on mediums for 67 laps. You're not going to be doing that today, are you? And taking them all 77. And they turn around, and he turns around and goes, "Well, yeah, Lewis, called me this and that, and all these names when I did that. But no, we won't be doing that today because no way those laps will do it." And then you see George Russell just go, "Hold my beer," and take it all the way to the end.
yeah. I mean,
it is quite impressive at the fact that he done.
It was quite impressive. Also, Nico Hulkenberg, who obviously retired on the opening lap, that's the 12th time in his career that he's retired on the opening lap, which is more than any other driver on the grid. So that's 12 lap 1 DNFs.
And he's still not got a podium.
Still not. But all the curses are slowly being broken. And the Hulkenberg podium curse is final boss curse, right? If we can break that,
a miracle for that.
Yeah, but if we can break that, that would be some going.
Have to go bowling again.
Ben, can we go on to prediction?
Well, I
car.
I was going to say, forgetting the biggest.
No, I haven't forgotten. I was just slowly sort of going through. Here's another question for you as well. By the way, actually, every time I talk now on this podcast, Jamie, right, has made me feel so insecure. I saw a comment on one of the TikTok, "God, broken yap for England."
You can.
What? I like to talk about F1. I'm on an F1 podcast. Come on.
As in
Jamie. Yeah.
Leads are falling apart again. Sorry about that.
There was just two more things I wanted to mention. Again, another question. What position do you think got lapped up to? So as in, what was the highest position that got lapped this weekend? What do you think it was? If you had to guess.
15th.
Okay, well, only 16 cars finished.
Yeah. Sorry.
Ollie?
Sorry.
What would you say?
I'm not with it. I'm 10th.
8th. Yuki Tsunoda was lapped in 8th.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so I just want to say that because it's very rare. We haven't seen it in a long time that far up was lapped. And also as well, from 11th down to 16th. By the way, Alonso was lapped twice this weekend. Yeah, I know. He finished 11th and he was lapped twice.
Yeah, because you know why? He was playing a team game just for his teammate to let him down.
Yeah, well, we didn't. To be fair, we didn't even mention Alonso and Perez went out in Q1, but there you go. But
irrelevant.
George Russell, who finished 5th. How many seconds did he finish behind the lead?
It was only 7 in the end, wasn't it?
Yeah. No, behind the lead. So Charles Leclerc.
Behind the lead. Oh, wasn't it?
15?
It must have been like 12 then.
13.3 seconds. But he only finished behind Oscar Piastri. Yeah, 6 seconds. And he did 70 odd laps on the same set of tyres. Like that's unbelievable.
Right at the end.
Yeah, because Charles Leclerc in the end, he drove off into the he ended up beating Oscar by 7.1 seconds. But there you are. There probably might still be a thing or two we missed out. But listen, I'm a huge lover of Monaco. I really enjoyed it in the sense of the outcome and the weekend as a whole. I think it was brilliant. Boys, I can confirm that this is our second worst week of predictions. Australia being the worst, where we only scored 6 points between the three of us. We scored 7 between the three of us this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I can confirm that in qualifying, we all only got 1 correct. And that was for me and Ollie getting Leclerc on pole correct and Will getting Norris P4 correct. So we all got a point for qualifying.
Get pole?
Pardon?
Who's I put to get pole?
Piastri.
Yeah, okay. Fair.
No. Or no, it may have. No, actually, it may have. I can't. It may have been
No,
Verstappen, and it was
I put
Piastri to win the race.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I knew Leclerc's Monaco curse, so I was like,
Yeah.
"There's not a chance he's going to do it."
So, and then in the but for the race points, Olly and Will scored 1 each, and I scored 2. So I have extended my advantage at the top. But once again, Will got Norris P4. You loved that Norris P. You know, a bit of mutual respect. You can't compare the two. You don't just enjoy them both.
Nah, I don't. I don't know what it was. I think I went with. I was like, right, Leclerc's not going to win the race because it's the Monaco curse. So I was like, he'll either have a dodgy pit stop like he did in 2022, which cost him, and I think Piastri will win. I also then said I think Sainz will overtake him as well.
Well, I was close in the sense that, well, obviously, as we know, the top 10 remain the same, first time ever, as I mentioned, that's ever happened.
Could you imagine if we did top 10 predictions?
Yeah, but realistically, all I needed for another top 5 was, and it's cliche because of course it's like, oh yeah, that and that, but it didn't happen. But all I needed was Verstappen to have overtaken Russell, which at one point I actually thought was going to happen because of that pit stop, and Norris to overtake Sainz, which again could have very easily have happened, and I would have had another 4 points. But I got 2 because I got Leclerc 1, Piastri 2. So this weekend I scored 3 and you both scored 2, meaning that as things stand, after 8 rounds, Will is still third on 26, Ollie is second with 27, and I'm first with 34. So, IndyCar, we got to talk about the Indy 500 because always known how big of a spectacle it was. You know, it was the 108th running. That dates back to what, like what is it, like 1912 or something? I don't even know, like 1914, right? I mean, that's 1916, right? Okay, my great nan was born in 1914, right? So we always known how big of a. Well, it's just good information. It's just nice to know. If you didn't know, now you know. I always know how big it is, and like we said, about part of the Triple Crown. But did I just know how big it was? Because my oh my, right? 4-hour delay, first and foremost.
Are we seriously going to miss what happened on Friday night? Only the most ridiculous thing to come of this weekend. Oh, did you not? Did neither of you watch it? The pit stop challenge.
No, I didn't watch that.
Yeah,
it's the most stupid. Like, why do you have a drag race to do pit stops? I don't get it. Like,
Sorry.
Don't get me wrong.
Why are we being negative on Indy 500?
No. I'm not being negative, but it's just American.
Also, can you please explain why it's called the Indy 500, but they only do 200 laps? Because
it's 500 miles.
This guy, how does he not know that?
In the group chat, instantly got like
roasted.
Yeah,
Will thought they were doing 500 laps.
But yes, so
we'd still be watching it now.
Yeah. So on the portions. So yeah, with the so on Friday there was the pit stop challenge, which was won by Joseph Newgarden, which is basically as simple as it sounds. 2 drivers go head to head. Each team does a pit stop, and by the way, they're getting hyped over an 11-second pit stop. Like, I know they have less people, but like, if you watch F1, they get disappointed for doing a 3-second pit stop. Like,
well, as for what I just a little bit of context as well, because I'm happy to admit, you know what, it's good to learn. It's always good to learn, but I'm happy to admit I was learning a lot throughout the race that I didn't know. Prime example being like the way the point scoring works. So there were times obviously where Stingray Rob, shout out the GOAT, Stingray Rob would be at the front. And it would be a case of, he just wanted to. It's like how in a marathon, you'll always have that one guy that is at the front just to say he was leading the London Marathon, and then he'll fall off completely and be like at the back. But the point scoring system, first gets 50 points. It goes all the way down to from 25th to 33rd that get 5. But you get a point for getting on pole as well. But you get a point for leading at least 1 lap, and then you get an extra 2 points for most laps led. So, for example, Joseph Newgarden, who won the Indy 500 in spectacular fashion, and the first person to win it back to back in 22 years as well. That just goes to show how big a deal it was. He led 26 laps, so I imagine, if I'm correct, that's 26 times 2 on top of his 50 points. So that's incredible. And also, what's so funny is it seems to be bigger to win the Indy 500 than the actual IndyCar Championship. So that would be like Leclerc winning Monaco bigger than actually winning the World Championship. That would be the equivalent of it. But just everything from the start of how all 33 come out and they get announced on the inside and on the outside, right? The rolling start where each row, it's done by each row, and on roll 8 is and how the fact that Kyle Larson, who apparently is like one of the best NASCAR drivers, took part in Indy. He was supposed to race in the Coca-Cola 600, but because of the 4-hour delay, he couldn't get to Charlotte, and obviously he ran the Indy 500 instead. He where did he finish? He ended up finishing 18th. Unfortunately, he got his pit strategies wrong, but fair play because he actually finished the race. The guy I wanted to win, Carl Herter, unfortunately, he only completed 170 laps because he ended up finishing 30 laps behind. Well, I think he finished 17 laps behind, but he was out for a couple.
Really weird incident, wasn't it? Because he crashed. Yeah. We were talking about this in our group chat. He crashed, but it didn't seem to be like there was any damage on his car.
No, but it would have probably felt like a big impact. Yeah, he probably thought he broke the rear wing, but he didn't. It's just a nose cone.
Yeah. Because what was really interesting, which I really liked about it, is they always showed the speed of the leader.
Yeah.
And the whole it, apart from going in for pit stops, it did not drop below 200
miles. It's a joke.
So yeah, exactly your point. Going in, hitting a wall at 200 miles. I can't even fathom how that must feel. Hitting a wall at 200 miles an hour
hurts a lot.
Well, I was mid-race because, again, even though it was so entertaining, there are parts where there are so many cautions, there were so many long delays, and there were parts where, because I was getting so into it, I was watching like old IndyCar reruns, and there's unfortunately, like with all there's fatal accidents, and I think it was only a couple of years ago, unfortunately, someone passed away, but there's like airborne crashes, fire crashes, like no wonder they have like the fences for the crowd, because cars could literally fly anywhere. But I was really getting into it. So like I was learning that Castro Neves, 4-time Indy 500 winner, if he'd won, he would have been the first person to win it 5 times. Takuma Sato, he'd won it 2 times before. Obviously, Roman Grosjean racing, he finished 19th. Stingray Robb, shout out at him because he finished 16th. I always imagined he was a back marker, and I think he actually is. So 16th. So 16th, really, really, really good. Callum Ilott, former Formula 2 race winner, he was 11th. Unfortunately, Marcus Armstrong, he was out after 6 laps because the Honda engines, Ollie, as your brother said, it's like Cars 2 with the camera. Someone was shooting the Honda cars down.
It was so weird. Those first 50 laps, it was like another one, another one, another one, another one. It was like they were just like all just slowly. Well, as my brother said, it's like they had the car's gun and they were all using all-in-all oil and getting engines. They were getting their engines just blown to smithereens. But
honestly, look, I don't really want to include myself in this, but I have in the past. People sometimes give America a little bit of stick for being so over the top, but I just loved everything about the start. For me, Italian national anthem's number 1. But US is number 2. I've always loved the US national anthem. The person that sang it, I think she was on American Idol. Oh my God, it was beautiful the way it was sung. There's like an Indianapolis song that's a tradition they sing. Obviously, they're so patriotic out there, and they had the planes, the warplane fly over. That it's like the equivalent of our Red Arrows. That was magnificent. 300,000 people there. Apparently, it's like the biggest one-day event in sport. Although, to be fair, Silverstone Grand Prix, I'm pretty sure we had like 400,000, but I think that was over the course of a weekend. They had 3,000 there on the day.
It was ridiculous, wasn't it? Literally, you looked at the grandstand and it was like there was not one single empty seat. But that's the thing, I don't actually think the tickets are that expensive.
Well,
I
learned something. There's something called a blackout, which got removed for this race. So in Indianapolis, the city of Indiana and the city of Indianapolis, equivalent of like our Saturday 3 p.m. blackout where you can't watch a Premier League game. In that state, there is a blackout, which means you can't watch the race. Now, I don't know if that's to entice people from the city to go to the race, but you can't watch it. But because of the weather and the fact there was a 4-hour delay, they spoke to like the minister of the city or something, the head of the city, the mayor of the city or whatever, and they removed that blackout for like the first time or something, so you could watch it in like the city on like a big screen because of what had happened. I don't know why that is, but the obviously 4-hour weather delay. Even though it's 200 laps, if that race had gone past 8:15 local time, which would have been 1:15 a.m. here, the race would have stopped anyway because would have lost light, and they only finished with like 20 minutes in that time slot to go. But as I mentioned, everything at the start, they have something in the middle called the snake pit. Now, imagine when you watch athletics, you have the track and then you have the field in the middle. They call it the snake pit, and it's basically it's a festival. It's like Wireless Reading. You don't even know there's a race going on. If you book a ticket for this snake pit, you're not even interested in the racing. You're actually there just to get in the mosh pit. Like it's unbelievable. It's like a completely different event inside an event. Honestly, unbelievable. And then you've got now. Last year, I didn't watch it from start to finish, but I did watch the end, and I know what had happened. And I remember watching Joseph Newgarden overtake on the final lap, and it being a thing. And I remember him running into the crowd and thinking, "Yeah, that's awesome." And then watching it this year and learning a bit more, like the milk tradition and the fact that they actually get to choose their milk. By the way, is incredible. Yeah. Apparently, chocolate milk used to be an option, and now it isn't. Like that's a farce. I don't know who changed that rule, but something needs to happen.
Well, then, what milk would you each have?
I'm going chocolate. I'm going chocolate. If not, I'm having blue milk. I'm having full fat milk.
I don't like milk.
Oh dear. Well, you're a bad winner.
You just have water.
Yeah. But I wouldn't pour. I mean, the adrenaline would be ridiculous, but I don't think I'd pour it over me because I wouldn't want to be stinking of milk. But I'd drink. But that's beside the point. But for me, what I also kind of just shows how just incredible this is. There is absolutely nothing for second and third. There's no like standoff. First, they sit in their car. They get like pushed onto a perch. They get a reef. They get the milk. They get $1 million. By the way, Joseph Newgarden got an extra 400,000 by his owner, the team Penske guy, because he was the first person to win it back to back. It was like an inside bet or something. Apparently, throughout the entire weekend, he's walking away with like $3 million, which is just insane in itself. But oh my goodness me! How many times on this podcast have I talking about emotion and how much I love people showing emotion? First of all, the commentator is spectacular. Shout out to Alex Jakes, but this guy.
Which one are you on about? Are you speaking
the main not Tom Dana from Sky, the NBC commentator. The way like his breath is literally being stolen from him because he couldn't believe it. He's like, "This is incredible." The way that when they cross the line, they follow the car and then they stop at the guy waving the flag. Like everything about it is so good. And then Joseph Newgarden, he gets back round for the second year in a row. He runs straight into the crowd. The adrenaline in his body must be insane. He probably could have got shot and he wouldn't have felt it. Like the way he's just casually hopping over, like jumping over fences and getting in the crowd, giving it the fist pumps, helmet's still on. Like his team came over and he's pushing his team away so he can get under the fence. And then, they can't stop kissing his wife because, like, again, the adrenaline's just through the roof. And I mean, I feel so bad for Pato O'Ward because apparently the same thing happened to him in 2022. And he swore on the broadcast. I don't blame him. He was gutted. Again, it also reminded me a bit of Hamilton and Abu Dhabi, where you can't pick yourself out of that car. Like his head was like he had to be consoled. He could not move.
My brother's been a IndyCar fan for quite a while, like a massive Pato O'Ward fan as well. And he was saying in the final laps, I feel like because he's a massive Lando fan. He's just a McLaren fan in general. And he was saying in the final 5 laps when O'Ward was like trying to eye up a move of when do I get past Newgarden? When do I go? When do I try and make a move and push for a win? My brother, This is exactly what watching Lando in Miami felt like. From a perspective, because obviously we're watching it, us three watched it as kind of like, okay, we just want to watch the sport. My brother was watching it from, I'm supporting this driver. And the fact of that's how he's telling us that's how it felt to watch a specific driver and how like you as a fan can feel towards a specific driver. That shows how big it is.
I know, and also as well, like for me, I was really interested from a McLaren point of view. The fact that so how many times I've got to say it, from Woking and McLaren, that means that extra little bit to me just because of how special it was. McLaren, in terms of a motorsport weekend, they should hold their head up high and be so proud. Second in Monaco, second in IndyCar, and Jake Hughes came second in Shanghai for Formula E. That's an unbelievable weekend for McLaren. Of course, Pato will be so disappointed because I think it was like with 3 laps to go, you could see he actually lifted because he was like, I'm not going to go here. I made this mistake before where it went too early. Unfortunately, he did go too early again. I don't know if Joseph Newgarden maybe had that experience from last year of knowing when to push, but the race, right, the total time. So Joseph Newgarden crossed the line 2 hours and 58 minutes. So basically a 3-hour race to win it on the last lap. And not in dodgy safety car fashion, in actual hard fought racing fashion.
On the second to last corner, by the way. As well.
Oh my god! It was like watching a 4x100 meter relay race or something, like 4x400 meter relay race. It was like watching the Jamaicans at the Olympics. Blake to bolt. It was genuinely one of the best and greatest things I've ever watched. It was 1 a.m. here, or like it was like 1:45. I'm screaming the gaff down because it was so exciting, and I was like to myself, I have to end up in an Indy 500 race one day. This is incredible, and shout out to the United States of America because they produced one of the best things. I always sometimes think to myself, they say everything's the best in the world. They say the NBA is the best league in the world, and I think to myself, look, you're playing. I know some players come over, but you're not the best in the world at anything. You're a nation. But for me, I don't know if a Formula One race has ever got me going like that. That was genuinely the most surreal thing I've ever watched. And there probably are years where it's not as good, but that was a joke. It was so good.
From start to finish as well. It wasn't like, you had 50 laps where it wasn't very interesting.
Yeah.
There was engine blowouts, there were crashes, there were spin-offs, there were cars almost like Colton Herta. We haven't even not Colton Herta, Pato Award. We're saying about him coming second. We haven't even spoken about his Twitch double save, by the way. But the thing that I found ridiculous about that, it wasn't watching his hands, because I think he's known as Ninja Hands.
Ninja Hands,
right? Because how good he is at controlling the wheel. But it wasn't that really caught my attention. It was, if you listen to it, the revs that you put on the car for the second save. He literally, his back end started going out, so he saved it a little bit. And you hear the revs go up a tiny bit, and then they drop down again. He spins out again, and then you literally just hear his foot go flat to the floor, and the revs just go through the roof, and he just about manages to keep it out of the wall. But it was ridiculous, literally. I mean, I think as well, like in Formula One, I think we see it quite a lot, especially on social media, when you see like angles from supporters filming, that the cars look quicker when they're filmed by people rather than on the TV cameras.
Yeah.
The TV cameras, oh my God, how quick the IndyCar cars actually go. It's ridiculous. But the thing I think as well is, I think what was described perfectly is I saw someone say that they compared Senna's pole lap, or one of his pole laps in Monaco, to Max.
1990.
One of Max's fast laps. And with Senna, it's like he's fighting a wild animal to try and keep the car on track. And with Max, it's like he's driving a computer, and it's so easy for him. The IndyCar cars are exactly like what Senna was driving. Literally, on the whole time, the steering is so loose. And it just looks so...
For me, do you know what as well? For me, it's given me so much respect for oval racing, because the stereotype of how people we know say to us, oh, F1's just going around in circles. This literally is going around in circles, but yet it is still unbelievable skill. It's not just, right, let me drive, okay. Like the way you have to get your left, your front left as close to the grass as possible, but obviously not by going onto the grass, because then you'll be up in the wall and crash. And the way that you've got to avoid the marbles, and you can't go too high, and just everything about it was astonishing. I swear to you, it's one of the best. My flatmate, unfortunately, is not into motorsport in the slightest. I don't know why, but I just went down to his room. I banged, and I was, mate, you got to watch this. This is one of the greatest things I've ever watched. I'm showing in the video. And unfortunately, he still didn't really care. But I was like, people that weren't even interested, I was like, I have to show somebody this because I can't believe it. Like, oh my word. It was like, I guess it'd be like the Aguero moment. Sorry, Will, but it'd be like the Aguero moment because it was, it genuinely, it just took me out of my skin how good, you can see it in me now. And this was 24 hours ago. Genuinely unbelievable. And I've got so much. I mean, I always quite liked it anyway. And I've watched the odd bit, St. Petersburg race, Long Beach, Indy 500, man. I'm going to watch this every year for the rest of my life.
I think what's brilliant from our point of view as well is that obviously, Ben, you've done amazingly posting 2 TikToks about it last night.
Thank you.
But the fact that we got engagement from Americans and they were saying, yeah, this is brilliant. They kind of seem happy that they were that they could see that Brits were watching their sport, and it's kind of like, yeah, this is us.
Yeah, nice for getting some love. I put something on Twitter about Max saying how boring it was, and I put something like, yeah, but that's the same for him every week because he's always out in the front. And call yourself a podcast, 114 followers. I was thinking, oh, here we go. But thankfully, I like any form of engagement. You know, negative engagement is engagement. What is it they say? Any press is good. Any bad press is good press, or whatever it is they say.
Press is good press, isn't it? Or something like
exactly.
that.
So we're not doing anything that's like affecting our career or future career or anything. We're just doing our bit.
Who doesn't like what we say and has an opinion on it, womp womp. Deal with
what is it Valtteri Bottas says?
And if
to
you
anyone
cry about it, at least like the video with your tears. Cheers, boys. Thanks.
Yeah. No, it was just a great weekend all round because we'll say it get so many times. The Monaco race wasn't great, but the outcome was fantastic. There was definitely a championship on our hands. 100% constructors. I don't even think Red Bull are going to win it. I've said that. I still think it will be McLaren, but Ferrari. It's there for the taking.
Haas ain't going to win it.
So, everybody, thank you all for listening. If you're a new listener, old listener, whoever you are, thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it. And we really appreciate all the kind of... What's the word? Support? Yeah, but what's the word when you get involved? When you give up... What was the... Mine's gone back. And what? Yeah, engagement. There we go. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you for it.
I was like, what are you trying to say that begins with a C? I was like,
no, what? We really do appreciate it, and we're slowly building up. So, thank you for the support. And other than that, I guess that's episode 9 wrapped up, and we will see you in 2 weeks' time for the Canadian Grand Prix. But I'm sure we'll still be running stuff on the socials until then. Until then, boys, Champions League final for me. If you see me on the pitch, please get a screenshot because I need to put this on LinkedIn. And otherwise, yeah, I will speak to you boys again soon. Get the TikToks up and take it from there.
Cool.
Thank you all.
Take care for listening.
Oh, no. Driver of the day. Go. Now. Final word.
Russell.
I thought yours was Albon.
Who? Me?
No, Will's. I thought... I'm doing the pointing again.
I said Russell.
I thought you meant Albon was your driver of the day.
No. Russell.
Russell's your driver of the day. Ollie, who's your driver of the day?
Obviously.
Who?
Leclerc.
Okay, Leclerc. And I'm going to give mine to Yuki Tsunoda. Thank you all for listening.
Wow,
See you again in 2 weeks' time.
Oh, wow.
Take care. Bye.